Hi, my name's Michelle and welcome to Conversations Over Coffee with the Coffee Morning Laughter podcast. Today we'll be joined by Loyce, where we'll be discussing marriage, divorce and the impact on our mental health. Hi Loyce, how you doing?
Hi, I'm okay, thank you.
Welcome to Conversations Over Coffee. Do you want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so I am 29 years old. I'm a religious studies teacher. I studied theology at university. I'm a mother of one, and I love dancing as a hobby. And yeah, that's everything about me.
Lovely, lovely. So obviously, as you know, here on CML, we've done a few episodes talking about relationships, marriage, separation. So we've got you here today to have our conversations over coffee. Do you want to tell us a bit about your journey, like how you got here?
Yeah, sure. So I met my ex-husband when I was about 15.
Wow.
We began going out when we were 18 and we got married when we were 22.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was quite young and there was a lot of influence at the time from the church just because
Okay.
we were so young. There's a big emphasis on, no sex before marriage, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I guess at that age, there was a lot of, you don't just date for the sake of it. You don't try before you buy, you date with a purpose. You have to know exactly what you're doing. So we found ourselves from a very young age liking someone and praying straight away. It was like, right, are they the one? God,
Oh,
are they the
wow.
one for me? I guess I believed that he was the one and he believed that I was the one too.
Did you meet in church?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we met in church. Okay. And we were really good friends. We were really, really good friends. And, we went in there with all good intentions, believing that, this is it, I genuinely thought, okay, this is puppy love for me. I found the one. I'm going to be one of those young sweetheart romances.
So he's your first boyfriend?
Yeah,
okay.
He was, he was my first boyfriend, actually. He was my first everything. So I genuinely thought, okay, this is it. It's going to last a lifetime. And at the age of between 26 and 27 was when the marriage began to break down, and we have separated since and are going through a divorce.
Okay. Oh, sorry to hear that.
Okay.
So how long were you married for in total?
Altogether, it was 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, altogether. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's how long we were together for. Yeah.
So I'll say, like, when did you sort of realise that the marriage was coming to an end?
That's a good question. You know what? I will be honest. It did take meeting someone else.
Oh, really? Okay.
It wasn't my proudest moment, but I realised after some time that, okay, there were certain things. The only way I can put it is my world was very small before. Okay. And as I went back to work after I had baby, I was meeting new people and it was like, oh my gosh, there are different people that have different life experiences, and everything. And you realise, well, I've closed myself in because my social world was church. Everything was church. And then it was like, oh, there are other people's. And then when I met someone else, it was like, oh, snap, okay.
And I think, do you think that has to do with like the age? Obviously,
because
you met at 15?
I met at 15 and when I'm at 15, I'm not going to be the same at the age of 20 and I'm not going to be the same at the age of 25.
Yeah.
And so the desires that I had when I was 18 are not the same that I have when I'm 26, 27, and you're putting your requests forward and it's like, well, we were like this when we met. And it's like, okay, but I was young and now we're growing up. Are we going to grow together or do we have to be the same as what we were before? So when those kind of issues started coming up, and I'm not perfect myself, it's not to
None
blame,
of us are.
It's not to blame one person, but it got to a point in the marriage where it was like, oh, this is becoming a bit stagnant. No one's moving forward. Okay. And I guess both of us began to not cater to each other anymore. And once you have baby as well, there's no time. You're exhausted on top of that.
So do you think that, I don't know, do you feel that you guys had, like after being in the marriage, do you think looking back that you had thought about what the marriage would look like before you got into it? Do you think you were prepared for marriage really?
No. No, I laugh, but it's not because it's funny. It's just because I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? That's more, you know that feeling when you're like, oh my gosh, when I was 15, I thought I was so grown. It's that feeling where it was like at 18, I'm here making big decisions for the rest of my life, thinking I'm knowing what I'm doing, thinking I know what it takes to make a marriage work. And then you get there and you're like, oh snap, when I'm angry with you, you're not going anywhere.
You ain't getting nowhere.
You know, if I put requests forward to you and you don't do anything about it, I can't go anywhere else. It's just you. You know, so it was those kind of things that I was not prepared for. You're at that age, I was more so prepared for the wedding day.
Okay.
I was prepared to wear a white dress.
But it's interesting because as we're talking now, I'm thinking about like, obviously I'm married.
Yeah.
And obviously with your African, yeah?
Yes.
From Uganda?
Yes.
Is your partner African as well?
No.
Oh, Caribbean?
No, he was Caribbean.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the cultural and the maybe the religious aspect, so you didn't live together before you got married?
No.
Okay, so literally you just both came from your parents' house together.
Yeah.
And one thing my dad always says is, when I was like, we need to get married, he was like, no, we need to live together first. And I was like, no way. And it was like, well, listen, I know you're saying that's how you guys do it, but I'm telling you, we need to know that we can live together. So it's like, I don't know, like if you could do things differently, would you?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I'll do it differently. I mean, number one, I wouldn't have got married at the age I did.
What age was you when you got married?
22.
22.
And I just don't feel like I knew myself.
Okay.
The Loice that I am now is so different to who I was before. Before, I was very much living to please people, just trying to find a way to please God. And, you know, and it's not that I'm not trying to please God now. It's just I'm living way more authentically now. That's the only way I can put it. I feel like I hadn't met all of myself yet. And I still haven't now. But I know myself way more now than I did at that age. And looking back, if I was the Loice that I am now, I wouldn't have got married to him. Not because he's awful, but just because he wasn't for me. But at that young age, he was. It was what I knew. It was the love that I knew.
But do you think it's this experience that has made you the Loice now? Or just how you would have grown into yourself anyway?
Absolutely. It has made me who I am today, which is interesting because there's been times I've looked back and I thought, I've wasted so much time.
It's not
wasted. But then I'm
wasted.
like, at the same time, I couldn't have reached this point without all the experiences that I've had. So absolutely, it's my story.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can
Your
put
journey,
it.
yeah.
It's my journey. But I definitely would have waited a lot longer. I think what's still tough is because I am a Christian and there is that sense of no sex before marriage, you can't cohabit. There is still that, I genuinely feel like there's a little bit of trying before you have to buy.
You have to try before you buy.
Just a little bit, just because you don't fully...
You know.
How do you know someone?
And we're not obviously, you know, we're not just talking about like the sexual here, but even just like living together and just, you know, having to like, one thing you said is about like waking up when you have those arguments, nobody's going anywhere. Like literally you're going upstairs, like.
Exactly, talking about finances. How do you deal with your finances? Are you good with money? Are you bad with money?
And that's the thing, I don't know if you heard one of the episodes we did where we talked about certain conversations that you need to have before you get married. And I know you've already said that you don't feel now that you were probably prepared, but did you have like any of these conversations or were you just...
No, they weren't formal anyway. That's the only way I can put it. We didn't like sit down and discuss certain things. You just think you know, and then you get married and you're like, oh snap,
Actually.
this is how you deal with your money, you know? Or, you know, little things like we didn't even discuss our health because I have a sickle cell trait.
Oh, wow.
So did he. We didn't know until I got pregnant.
And you know what? It's again, the podcast, we've talked about these things.
These things are so important to discuss.
Oh, wow.
And so now I'm pregnant and I'm being told your child could possibly have sickle cell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not even something that was on my radar. And when you go for like premarital counselling, it's not something that comes up, you know? So I look back and I realize how unprepared I was and how many tools I lacked. That's the only way I can put it. So it's not that he was bad or I was bad. We were two imperfect people that just weren't ready for a marriage.
I think what I've heard you say is that obviously we've come from a religious and cultural background, you know, where it is very important that we, you know, God first, we, you know, just come from our parents' house and move in together. But in terms of you know, when that realization kind of hit, when you thought the marriage wasn't going to work anymore, what consideration did you take? How were you feeling about how like the church would look at things, or your family?
Oh, I just knew it wouldn't go down well.
Really?
I just knew, because we were youth pastors at the time as well.
Okay.
So
So you had a role within the church,
yeah,
both
we
of
were
you.
a very
Oh,
big
wow.
part of the church, and it's not to blame anybody else. But it almost felt like the marriage wasn't allowed to not work.
Okay.
It feels like in the Christian world, once you say yes, that's it. It
That's
must
it.
work, come what may. And I guess that is what marriage is supposed to be, till death do us
Yeah.
part. But what do you do when you are with
it
someone
doesn't.
and you can see they're unhappy, you're unhappy? You know, what do you do?
Yeah.
How far do you go before you say, okay, I think enough is enough?
Do you mind sharing what you did do?
Pardon?
Do you mind sharing like what you did do? Like, how did you navigate that?
I mean, it was tough. It was quite isolating, to be honest.
Really?
At the time, there weren't many people I felt like I could talk to. I was on quite a pedestal, and I've seen a quote that says pedestals are quite lonely because you're put on this high ranking, and so you must be above reproach all the time. So how do you now go to someone and say, I don't think I want to be married anymore, or I think I kind of might fancy someone else. I don't really know how to deal with these feelings. And so a lot of things were swept under the carpet, and I think it could have worked maybe if we spoke up more, if we shared how we felt more.
What, earlier on?
Earlier on, yeah, but it was very isolating at the time. There wasn't much I did.
And did that like impact on like your mental health? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I lost so much weight at the time.
Wow, so even physically?
Yeah, I was training to become a teacher, and I remember my mentor came at some point. He was like, "Are you okay?" He just took me to the side. He was like, "You've lost a lot of weight since you started," and I couldn't believe that he realised, you know,
those
that
stresses.
he could see, he could see that something was wrong, and I was like, "I'm okay," because that's what I knew to do. You know,
say,
you have to be okay. That's the only way I can put it. I just felt like I had to plow through.
Yeah.
And it got to a point I was like, I don't think this is going to work.
So kind of when you kind of made that decision, who did you then go to? Like,
I did speak to I spoke to one of my friends. There's a friend that I've had for a long time. And I did speak to the pastors. But when everything really broke down, it was mainly my ex-husband who kind of let people know that, okay. This is done. And so we just had to deal with the aftermath of that and dealing with the shock of the church and my family and his family. It was intense. It was so intense. It was awful. I've not been at such a low before in my life, other than that point, because there is a sense of failure, because you've declared in front of how many people that this is till death do us part, and it doesn't work, and you're left to deal with that feeling of, wow, this didn't work.
So you talked about failure. So in terms of you taking that on as yourself, because, you know, I think my understanding of marriage is that sometimes they just don't work. And you sort of said it a little bit, but you said actually sometimes there's not someone to blame.
Yeah,
sometimes it is just growth, and you've grown apart. You understand? But
yeah, literally that is what it was in this situation, I would say. But yeah, it felt like it wasn't allowed to not work. So when it did break down, there was just such a sense of, this didn't work. You didn't work hard enough. That's what it kept on. That's what kept on going through my mind. Like, could I have done this? Could I have done that? Maybe I should have just done this. Maybe I could have, you know. Maybe I'm gonna look like someone who doesn't try. I'm gonna look like someone who just gives up. I'm gonna look like someone who.
But what I'm hearing is that's a lot of, you're asking these questions, but you're talking about you're gonna look like, and that's not for you. That's then actually for other people. So you're worried about what other people are gonna think about how you have reacted to the situation, and actually not necessarily about the situation.
Absolutely. Because it's scary how in a lot of communities, they can be shame-based cultures where it is very much about keeping up appearances and what would this look like. When you grow up hearing, clean your room, what would you do if so-and-so saw your bedroom? You know, you then begin to be hypersensitive to what people think of you.
And it's weird, I don't know, Kim Kardashian, again, on one of the podcast episodes that we've talked about, where she said when she separated from Kanye, she was like, oh no, this is my 4th marriage. Like, people are going to think, you know, and it is all well and good, you know, people's opinions at times. Actually, I always say this, you have to choose you. You have to choose you. You can't choose your parents because they may be happily married or what have you, or your siblings or your pastors. But actually, you always have to choose you because you are the only person that can really make you happy.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned over time since that experience, to choose me and keep choosing me, because for a long time I wasn't. I was living a safe life that pleased everybody else. I've said to people before, the only way I can put it is I felt like I set myself alight, but I was keeping everybody around me warm. But I was dying on the inside, and I just wasn't functioning at my highest at all. And so as much as the breakdown of the marriage was painful, and it's been a long journey of recovery and counselling and everything, I've been through it all. I am way better now than I was before.
In the nicest way, obviously, this is our first time meeting, and you just look amazing. You're beautiful, you're confident, and, you know, maybe if you had stayed in your situation, would I be seeing that?
No.
Not necessarily.
No, because it just wouldn't have been, because I would have still been in that same, you know, state of being, of people consciousness, just constantly thinking of what other people thought of me. Now I just do what makes me happy.
Good.
So that is literally what you're seeing. Me.
And it was going to lead me on to coping mechanisms.
Oh yeah.
So like, you talked about doing what makes you happy. Yeah. But did you have any other specific like ways that you kind of just dealt with things?
There were some negative ones that came.
Yeah.
For a long time I couldn't feel. For a long time, I remember when I would go counselling, my counsellor would try and get something out of me, and I just couldn't get any emotion out, and it came after a long time. And I finally broke down in front of her, and she was like, for so long you were just
holding it.
It's like have you ever seen a laptop just shut off?
Yeah.
That's what my brain did. It just shut down, and it felt like it was the only way I could carry on going to work, being a mum, whilst dealing with this. I had to shut off what I feel, because if I feel right now, I'm gonna implode. So that was quite negative, because the issue that came with that was it was seen as though I'd had no remorse. It wasn't that.
No. And I think I see that as like you're protecting yourself.
Exactly. But I only realised that after counselling, because then my counsellor was able to articulate that for me. Okay. Whereas at the time I couldn't explain how. I was just stuck. I was just frozen.
It's a defence mechanism, so you just kind of shut yourself off because you don't want to have to.
I don't want to deal with
open up the floodgates, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. The only way I can put it is living felt painful.
Wow.
Waking up every day felt painful. I just felt like I can't do this. I just can't do this. So in order to do this, I can't feel. Wow. I can't. So that was one coping mechanism I had. But dancing has really helped me. I've loved dancing since I was a kid. I was in a dance group.
Oh wow.
I was in a dance group. When I think back, I just laugh.
Is that one of them like American ones? Like,
yeah, I used to do all of that. All of that, 5, 6, 7, 8, all of that. But now I do more African dancing. So again, I'm more in touch with myself and who I am as a person. And I'm African. I'm proud of it. And that's what I do. So my friend records me. I'll put it up on Instagram. And people would just like and comment and share. And so that has helped me. Like, there are times when I have felt so low. I go to my friend, I'm like, Jessica, can we record today, please? I need to get out what I'm feeling, because otherwise this pent-up emotion is going to send me down. Oh, wow. You know, all there's times when I have felt suicidal, and I'm like, I need to dance today, otherwise I'm going to go down.
Obviously, you've just talked about feeling suicidal, and I just think, you know, I'm Nigerian. Obviously, my husband's English. And that pressure of the culture, and it's not me trying to like slag anybody off. You know, I'm very proud to be Nigerian. People that know me, she always calls me one of the most African people she knows. Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, what can you recommend? Like, how can we Like how can we stop future generations of people feeling trapped by something that is, I don't want to say untrappable, I don't know if that's, but it doesn't, you can be free. You can be free. And I think just that's what I'm hearing from you now, that you just feel free.
Yeah, I do. I don't miss my old life at all. And it's not because it was bad, but I remember what I felt like at that time. And I just wasn't happy. I remember someone coming to me and, you know, I had a baby in my hands and, you know, hubby was elsewhere doing something, and she came and she was like, you've got everything. Like, you must feel amazing. And I remember sitting there thinking, I've got everything, but I'm not happy. And I don't know why, and I don't know who to talk to. So I just feel like more transparency is needed. If people were more transparent and talked about the difficulties that they faced in life, people might feel more comfortable to talk up. Because, for example, I said, you know, as a youth pastor at the time, who was I now going to talk to and say, I don't think I want to be with my husband anymore? I genuinely felt like I couldn't talk to anyone. And so when everything came out, so many people were like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you talk to me? Maybe we could have talked you out of it. And it's like, it's so strange how you can be around people and not be comfortable and not feel safe. But you're in an environment where you're being told you're supposed to feel safe because it's Christian, and you're hearing about God every week. But do I actually feel safe next to my neighbour? Do I feel like I can confide in them and tell them my deepest, darkest secrets and they won't judge me? No, I don't feel like that. And so I feel like there needs to be more transparency. There needs to be more, the church just needs to be a little bit more intentional about reaching out to the lost. Sometimes it feels like the church doesn't actually want the lost. It feels like they actually want people that are okay. Because when they hear sin, oh my gosh, and it's like, well, the whole point is...
This isn't about me today, but if I tell you my own story, well, I fell pregnant while I was an usher in church. I wasn't married, and it was
a lot.
I had to go and explain the pregnancy to the pastor, and I was a bit like...
It's interesting because this is what I'm grappling with now, is accountability. How does accountability work? What is accountability when it's done properly? Because at the moment, accountability feels like I have to tell you everything I've done, whether I like it or not. And that just feels a little bit
and we get that there needs to be something, but actually we need to I just think people need to remember the human side of things.
Absolutely.
That we're human and we're not perfect. No one is perfect. You understand? Other than Jesus, no one's perfect. You understand? So we just need to remember that we're humans.
Absolutely.
You know, we can all make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to my parents too. Not to say that they were bad, because they were amazing. It's just my mum didn't talk to me about anything. You know, so, you know, for example, when I was getting married was the first time she decided to have the sex talk with me. And I remember I was so cringed out. I was like, Mum, we're actually not doing this, because you go so long without having those conversations. So how are we starting now? You know, bless her, she's trying, but I'm like, we don't do this. Mom. So I wish even that there was more conversations about difficult things and not sweeping things under the rug, just more transparency. And it was only after everything came out of the breakdown of my marriage that I found my mum has spoken to me more and been like, listen, you know, as women, this is what we go through, that kind of... And I'm like, so we're doing it now. It took for me to hit rock bottom for, you know, but at the same time, it's all part of my story. And it's part of my journey. Yeah, it's been a long journey.
What would you recommend about like the ages of people getting married? Like, because I was 31, I believe, when I got married. And in my head, you know, again, African culture, we can talk about what we know, but, you know, it's like, okay, we get married by 25, we have a kid by this age, second kid, the house, this, that, you know, but I kind of look at things, and obviously, you know, I had my daughter before I got married, so I did things way backwards, but kind of how, okay. And that's okay, exactly, that is okay, but how do you feel about, like, because I'm not going to lie, you're not one of the first people I've heard that says that they potentially wouldn't have got married so young. You know, so what do you feel?
I mean, I can't ever put an age on marriage to people, but I would recommend later, because you have more life experience. You're probably going to know yourself a lot more. But at the same time, obviously, with getting married a bit later means you might have gone through a lot of heartbreaks before
Get there,
you've got
being
there.
at the wrong address, the right package at the wrong
What
address.
I mean? So you might actually end up collecting a whole load of negative coping mechanisms, and now you're dealing with your partner in a way that you shouldn't be because of what you've been through. But I would genuinely recommend getting married a bit older. I would say after the age of 28.
28.
Yeah, and I know some people might be like, "Damn, girl," but honestly, just because
you think you know yourself a bit more.
Yeah, and you're going through so much transition. You know, you're trying to find yourself. Early 20s, you finish uni. Okay, so what's my purpose in life? Oh, I'm trying to get a job. I can't get a job.
And one of the things you said about exposure, you ideally at an older age, you've been exposed to a lot more situations, people. You know what you like, what you don't like.
Exactly. I think of Adele's song "Easy on Me." You know, and she says, you know, go easy on me. I was a child. I didn't get to feel the world around me.
Wow.
You know, and that's exactly how I felt. I just didn't get to feel the world around me because my world was so sheltered and so linear. You know, I didn't explore. I wasn't spontaneous. I hadn't even been on a girls' trip by the time I got married. By the time I had baby, I was like, I've never been to carnival. I had never done anything. I had not done anything. I had just lived on the straight and narrow. And it's not that that's bad.
No. But you recommend exposure.
I just recommend, just allow yourself to be open to experience.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, Loyce, thank you so much for sharing. Seriously, it's been like, as a married woman, it's been really insightful and refreshing to have these conversations. And you know, I think the listeners and viewers out there, they will appreciate hearing an honest account of what it's like. You know, and let people know that actually it's okay if the marriage doesn't work out. You'll live, you'll thrive, you'll breathe, you'll have your freedom. There's life after divorce. You understand? So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me, honestly. And I do still believe in love.
Yes, definitely.
Still do believe in marriage. I do hope one day to find the man of my dreams.
You will be. You will do.
If I exist, he exists.
Definitely. I love that.
So I hold on to.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.